No, just a second, because okay, that's it. Oh, hello there. Thanks for having me. I am Marcelo Toscano, and today I'm going to talk about iOS development. Uh, well, this is my first screen, but I want to show one thing first, another thing first. Not this one. Who am I? As I told you, I'm a Marcelo Toscano and started coding back in 1996. So I code more than 20 years, and the most of the time I code for the web with PHP. I'm the founder of PHP. That is a user group, a PHP user group in São Paulo. And for the past 4 years, I'm focused on Swift for iOS development. And of course, you can find me if you want to find me on web, on Instagram as iOS Jumpstart. Okay. Oh, I was thinking talk about Swift language itself, but I decided to change it a little bit because it, it's kind of boring to talk about Swift the and the language itself. I don't want to lecture about that right now. So I decided to talk about features of native development first. So maybe we can talk about Swift itself in another presentation. But today I'm going to talk about some features that I think that there is a very important uh, about native development. So Swift was introduced back in 2014. It was developed for Apple. It's a very powerful language designed to replace Objective-C. That was the last language used on iOS development. And that's it. It has actually Swift. It's very important uh, to Swift to iOS development because it's not used only on iOS. It are used on Apple TV, on Mac OS. It's used on to make apps for Watch OS and all environment used created by Apple. Okay, so what's the main advantage of native iOS development? It's my opinion, of course, and I think the most important are those four items. There is the first, more important, it's optimize performance, where native iOS development have the full power of the hardware, because we all know the main thing of the Apple is have the integration between all cell phones and computers and another device. This is a very important thing. So another thing that is, in my opinion, another important, really important thing, it's the user experience, because uh, otherwise in another platforms like Android, we have a really differential thing in iOS apps that is a really good experience for the user. Most of apps has a beautiful presentations, have a beautiful uh, a beautiful interface. So if you compare, of course, it's not in every case, but if you compare iOS apps with another platform, you will see that there is a great difference between them. And the third item, it's access to exclusive features, because when you start coding for iOS, you don't have only the Swift language to count with. So you have a lot of features that Apple's developed for the iOS developers, and such as core location, ARKit, health kit, and a lot of different uh, resources that you can use to improve your application. And the fourth thing, it's an enhanced security, where iOS apps benefits from the stringent security measures, uh, protecting the user data and ensure a secure environment. So the next, we're talking about a little bit more about those items. So the next thing is optimize performance in iOS, native development, where uh, iOS iOS applications have a leverage of the full power of the device, as I told you. And Swifty, it's not only known for its safety and expressiveness, but also for its performance optimization with the native iOS development. So, because why the performance is important? Performance is critical. With Swifty, we have with Swifty, I think it excels in these areas due to several features. So one of those features is that Swift is it's a compiled language. It came to replace Objective-C, as I told you to, and it's comparable in performance and high performance in high efficient applications made with C and C++. We also have an ARC, automatic reference content, which is used to manage memory usage efficiently. Also, we have concurrency support, which was introduction of Swift concurrency model, includes async and await and structured concurrencies. Also, we have interoperability with Objective-C. That means you can still use Objective-C into the Swift code. That's a very important thing. And of course, again, Apple, you have the Apple hardware that is very optimized. So as a language design, Swift is optimized for Apple hardware. Everybody know that. This is a simple between software and hardware that allows enhancing performance as a Swift takes full advantage of the hardware. The next is the user experience. It's very important also. Its native iOS apps are designed to integrate seamless with iOS ecosystem. That means you can have the same application with the same face, with the same feel into your iPhone or into your Mac. You will feel that they are almost, of course, it's not the same application, but when you use into different devices, you will feel that it's the same applications. You will feel that works as one thing integrated between all the devices. So user experience in iOS development with Swift is crucial. It's a crucial aspect to ensure that apps are intuitive, are engaging for every use. And there are a few, there is some key points to consider with that. So the first thing is the design principles. What do we mean to that? Because Apple has a human interface guidelines that helps you create a consistent and familiar user experience that includes using standards UI components, maintaining visual consistency, and ensure that app feels natural in all devices. As I told you, if you use an application in iOS or in macOS, you will have the same experience. So another thing is when you use an iPhone, it has different applications. You can install a lot of different applications. And what the human interface guidelines does is that you have the same feeling between different apps. So if you are using an app made by Apple, or are you using an app made by a huge bank, or an app like iFood, they all will feel the same because they all have to follow these guidelines. Okay. And another thing, it's performance optimization. So since you are using a native development, you benefits from this performance, such as a faster execution, a reduced memory usage, and a smoother and more responsive user experience. Efficient code and optimal use of this resource, it ensure that your app runs smoothly and even on all the devices. So you don't have the problem to have, if you have an older iPhone, it will run like a new one. Of course, it's not work every time like that, but almost the times we have the same experience. Oh, and we have a usability testing. So regular testing with real reviews helps identify pain points and areas for improvement. Feedback from usability testing can guide and refines the app design and functionality, ensure it meets user needs effectively. So what that means? That means when you upload an application for to the app stores, someone, a real person, of course, there is another tools to do that, but I can assure you that a real person will verify what your application does. And if it's following the guidelines, if it the following the security rules, so you don't have a problem in the future with that application. Okay. The next thing is access to exclusive features in iOS. What that means, in iOS, we have in Apple, we have an iOS ecosystems. So you can integrate your applications with a lot of outside resources. So like Apple Pay, as I believe everyone who has an iPhone use the wallet, and maybe sometimes Apple Pays. You can use Health Kit, that is important to make applications about health, of course, and you can uh, get the data from the iPhone and from the Apple Watch. And of course, you have a lot of other functionalities that provide more um, experience across Apple devices. And iOS development with Swift leverages several exclusive frameworks and technologies provided by Apple to create and advanced applications. And as I told you, there is some of them. AR kit, you have health kit, you have a machine learning core, you have map kit, you have integration with iCloud that provides data storage and so on. And that we have a Siri kit, but really, who use Siri nowadays? It's actually, in my opinion, it's terrible. I really don't like Siri. But there is, I think we must remember that Apple is bringing ChatGPT for iOS, and of course, it will help to enhance the development of apps, because the last version of Xcode is the editor used to code apps in Mac, in Apple platform. It has a code completions, and maybe in the end of the year we will have the AI to help us to build better and faster applications. Well, we have another important thing that is security. Everybody cares about security nowadays, and it's very important because we have everything in in our devices, mainly in iPhones. So we have a bank app, a bank account with app with bank accounts. We have our photos. We have all kinds of information that we could be stored into Apple device. So the mainly thing is the data protection and encryptations that encrypted sensitive data both at the rest and transited using robust encryption algorithms. We have a security code practicing that implemented strict input validations to prevent common vulnerabilities. And also, another thing implemented for uh, developers that building apps, it's called obfuscation. It's a hard word to tell that what that means. It means it's Apple has a tool to to make more difficult reverse engineering. So uh, even if you have access to an app, you're going to have a lot of work to do reverse engineer. So and of course, we all know we have a biometric authentications, and the last a little older versions of iPhone, you could use uh, your fingerprint as authentications, and on the newest iPhones you use facial recognition. And we have a lot of things like network security, app transport security. There is a more technical things about Swift that we could maybe talk a later presentation. Well, uh, this is conclude my presentation. No? What I have to say that Swift is a native development provide a powerful combination for create high performances apps, user friendly and secure apps. So what I have to say now that I'm available for questions and you might have. Feel free to ask anything about Swifty or native iOS development. Thanks for your time. I appreciate for you having me. Um, if you have some questions, it's a good time now.
Thank you, Marcelo. That was a very
Yeah,
good,
sure.
insightful presentation over Swift and iOS, which
Okay.
is a stack that, as much as it is, you know, very popular and important, at the same time,
Mm-hmm.
we don't see that many developers leaning towards this way. Do you have
What
an
do you mean
opinion
with
on
that?
that?
What do
Because
you mean with that?
because I think, for example, a
Mm.
lot of the users right now they use iPhones, right? iPhones,
Mm-hmm,
iPads.
mm-hmm.
MacBooks, not
Okay.
so much, but it's very popularized.
Mm-hmm,
And
mm-hmm.
even though we do have a lot of market for those type of products, I don't see a lot of developers that are starting out, for example, me, that would think, oh, I might go to Swift. You know,
Okay.
it's very popular, but at the same time, I don't see a lot of developers actively going for it.
Yeah,
Um,
that's true.
on your opinion right now on the Swift market, how are things doing?
Yeah, well, I have two things about that to say about that. The first, it's how I decide to enter into iOS development. So first, I was thinking about to coding JavaScript with uh, hybrid solution. I forgot the name. That's it native. I don't
There
remember the
are
name of
React Native,
React Native.
Ionic.
Yeah, exactly. Thank you. I started thinking about to code with React Native, but when I looked to the market, I decided to go with native and Swift because I thought I came from web development. So nowadays, everybody is going to web development. It doesn't matter if it's with PHP or JavaScript or whatever, but there is too much people working with web today. So since native has a higher barrier to you get into development, so because you need an MacBook to do so, so it's an expensive thing to do, to buy, and of course the salaries of iOS developers are higher, and it's a good thing. And because why that happened, because it's really more difficult to do so, to find an a native iOS developer. It's not even close of web developers you can find. This is a first thing. The second thing, I believe that when you use a non-native development, mainly here in Brazil, or 30, let's say 30 words, 30 word countries, it's because the price, the cost you have to maintain two teams, one for iOS and another for Android. It's really expensive. And when we are talking to a non-native development, you cut this cost in half. So that's why I believe there is this situations nowadays, right? Because the mainly about the cost, and you have the second thing, the third thing. It's kind of easier to maintain just one code base, so you don't have to keep a code base for iOS and another code base for Android or whatever. So it's a good thing too. It's a valid point. You don't have to keep those two code bases. It keep your cost low, and that's why I believe there is this difficult to find iOS developers.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
Carlos, go ahead.
So yeah, Carlos wants to ask something. Go ahead.
I developed a lot of hybrid applications since Cordova, a very old hybrid framework to develop that. And every time when you have a small application, only a basic application, a crude application, yeah, maybe could be using the hybrid applications, yeah. But the user experience,
It's
it's
not good.
terrible. It's terrible.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. And when you look for big companies that provide a amazing experience with applications using native applications, yeah, for iOS and for Android.
Okay. And do you have a question about that, or
No, only to
just make a point? Okay.
make a
Yeah,
point.
I really agree with you, but I have a few study cases to show you. The first study case is my last work, where I was working to BTG Pactual. They have two teams, one for iOS and another for Swift, one for iOS and another for Android. And I believe this has happened because of the four main points I show you in my presentations. Even you don't like it, but the iOS apps look better. It feels better on the iPhone. There's no discussion about that, in my opinion. Okay. And talking about small apps, I personally, I'm developing an app for myself that I want to publish into until the end of the year. It's a really small app, and I'm going to do it only for iOS, but not because I am an iOS developer, because I am pointed to US market and the European market. I'm not pointing to a Brazilian market because I know that Brazilian market, most of devices are Android. Again, why? Because it's cheaper. That's the main reason. There's you can't deny that, you know. And in US and UK, for example, in whole Europe, iPhones are more affordable. So I want to explore these markets. So I think making an iOS and iPhone only app, it's more interested for me because of this market. So Felipe has a question. Felipe, you raise your hand.
Yes.
Go ahead.
As Android developer,
Mhm.
what do you think? Do you think it's a good time to start developing in iOS to migrate the technology, or you believe that's not the moment now? Thinking in the market.
What do you mean? I'm not Android developer. I'm an iOS, as I told you. But I don't get it. What do you mean with that? What can you rephrase it, please?
Okay. Do you believe that now it's a good time to an Android developer change a technology? Someone who's are in a native development, but for Android.
Mm,
Do you believe this time it's a good time to change the technology to start to develop it as iOS developer? Or
mm.
because you say that don't have a lot of developers, right?
Okay.
But you believe that it's a good point, it's a good moment to migrate, or not yet?
Well, the standard answer, it depends because yeah, it depends because if you have if you had a lot of years of developing in Android with Java or whatever language they are using now, I don't think it's a good thing to you to move for iOS, native iOS, to work with Swift. But if you're starting with mobile development, I think you could think of really think sleep on it, you know, because well, in my experience, you can make more money as an iOS developer than an Android developer. It's not a really big difference, but there is one. But if you have already a career on Android, I think it's not good change for you. I stick with Android.
Okay.
Okay.
Awesome. Good
Anyone
question.
else?
Anyone else, guys?
Okay.
Nobody?
So that's it.
Seems like everybody is satisfied with the answers that
Okay.
they got so far. Marcelo, any other important points that you think it's worth mentioning about the future of iOS development? Because we know that
Yeah.
Apple is well established in the market.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Exactly.
it's one of the companies that literally everybody knows it, and there is so much opportunity, but we have to see how much further Apple can grow.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with Apple Vision Pro now, that
Yeah, it's a good thing.
development might change, especially when it comes to designing and some of its features. So what do you see in the future for this market?
Well, that's a thing I saw 4 years ago when I was tired of web development. I love web development. I think web development revolute the software industry. I was from a time where there is no YouTube, there is no practically nothing. I was from a time where there is a very no website, no called Web Motors. It didn't exist in Web Motors. I was one of the first person here in the country, here in São José do Rio Preto, who has contact with Web Motors. So web, it's a great thing. But what you have to have in mind, it's the people are not buying computers anymore. Okay, you don't have everybody buying a PC to have into your on your table. You don't have this anymore. Maybe you have laptops, but in the most case, everyone in this world have one or more mobile phone. So this is a thing to you have to think about it. And talking about Apple, it's a huge company you have behind your apps. So there is a platform to consider. I know it's not very spread here in Brazil about talking about MacBooks and macOS because it's expensive. But when we talk about iPhones, everybody wants iPhone. Not everybody. There is some people. There is some people who likes Android. I don't judge, but when you talk about iPhones, you have this in mind. You must have this in mind. You have Apple behind everything, and there is one thing when you are talking about hybrid development. I don't know where it's going to end, but I think Apple is going to do something about to privilege native developers. So it's already happened. You see when you have a new feature or a more specific feature, it's always first on iOS. Then you take months to take this to hybrid development. So I think it's a good market. There is a lot of jobs opportunity in the world, not too much in Brazil. Actually, there is a lot of here in Brazil because the main banks like BTG, Itaú, what else? Santander. I have team with mobile providers. We have Claro Brazil with mobile providers. They all use native development, native apps. So I think it's a really huge market here for iOS developers.
Perfect. And you think there's
Okay.
the expectation to grow even more here in Brazil too?
I don't know. I have been thinking about that, but I think it's for another time.
Gotcha. Does anybody else have any questions regarding the topic so far?
I have a question. Sorry about the noise, guys, because I am touching.
Okay, go ahead.
But it's more a question about you. Where do you work, Marcelo? Where do you work?
Where do I work now, or where
Yes.
where do
Yes.
where I work?
What is the
Well,
company?
actually, I take a year off to think about things, But my last job was at BTG Pactual, and I have worked for Claro and TIM. That was my iOS jobs. And now I'm working. I'm trying to create something for people who want to learn iOS development. That is called iOS Jumpstart. You can look for more on my website, iosjumpstart.com, or on my Instagram, iOS Jumpstart. You can find me there also. it's starting. It's a really new thing. It's a thing I'm trying to build. It will take a couple weeks more to so I can open to public. But my main goal is to develop this company and see what we got from there. And of
Really cool.
course, I'm available for international experiences, lots of work abroad, because we want to make money in dollar, or euro. It's a wonderful thing. That's why we are here. We are here in Giga to improve and our English and conversation, and maybe, who knows, get a international job. Why not?
Nice, man. So share
Yeah,
with
thanks.
us the website on Discord, please. I will check
You
it
can
later.
ask, you can access. Yeah, sure. You can access iOSjumpstart.com.
I have another question.
Okay,
I
sure.
always wanted to know how the games work in iOS. I don't know if they are multi-platform or something like that, or if you need to have
How
version for
you
iOS and other for Android.
are you asking how I became an iOS developer?
No, no, no. I'm asking you about gaming development
Oh,
of games, how it works in iOS.
I never did something for gaming, but Apple has a library, a framework to do that. So I don't remember their name, but you can search on web for this framework for gaming development in
Marcelo,
iOS.
just adding on top of what you said,
Mhm.
Andre, you can search for Sprite Kit, Scene Kit,
Yes,
Metal
exactly.
Kit as well. They are a part of some gaming frameworks that we have on
Mhm.
iOS, and
Exactly.
it's pretty straightforward to learn from them. It's awesome. It's a great experience, I would say.
Yeah. Sprite. I think Sprite Kit's the most used. Sorry.
Yeah, exactly. For example, even nowadays, if you want to
Mhm.
create some animations using a normal foundation or YKit frameworks,
Mhm.
you would be able to integrate them. I
Yeah,
already did
exactly.
some
Mhm.
I already did some Easter eggs into one application that I worked a few years ago, and
Oh,
it was awesome.
nice.
Thank you. I was just curious about. I don't want to learn how to code game. I was just curious.
Oh, come on, man. I thought that you are going to start
No,
developing some games for iOS,
never,
Already,
never.
yeah.
I have a job. I have a daughter. And I have to learn English. Too much thing to do.
That's not an excuse, man. That's not an excuse. Just kidding.
One thing I have done for, actually, I never code for with Sprite, right? But I have done some animations on iPad. It's a nice thing. You have to draw all the frames. It's a nice thing. It's a funny thing to do. Philip, you want to ask again something? Your hand are raised.
Yes.
Okay.
I have a question, and that is suggestion too.
Okay, sure.
Uh, well, I'm a declarative development enthusiast. I for now I'm a Android developer, but I
Mhm.
studied the iOS development too, and I
Mhm.
started with UI kit, but I changed
Okay.
it to Swift UI. And
Mhm.
the question is, in your opinion, do you believe that the Swift UI it's a good framework to use now for the big projects on Apple, or
Mhm.
UI kit still better? And what's your opinion about the technology? And the suggestion is if you want to describe more, because this presentation don't focus on the language,
Yeah.
would be nice topic about it. Another
Oh yeah, sure. About the presentation, talking about the language itself, we can uh, arrange with Ansel. Ansel, if you want to in the future to schedule another presentation, it will be a pleasure. And
Absolutely.
talking about UI kit and Swift UI, well, Swift UI is the evolution for UI kit. But the main thing, it doesn't matter if UI kit is better than Swift UI or vice versa. Vice versa. It's not that's none of the matter. The matter is, if you want to get a job right now, you must learn UI kit. That's the matter. If you want to learn, if you want to use Swift UI, a job with Swift UI, you will have problems to do that because not everybody, actually, just a minor part of companies are using Swift UI. I know it's better use Canvas for preview your interface. It's like a CSS for it's a declaration language, so it's like a CSS because CSS who those who come from web development will notice the similarity. And but the main question was that if you want to have a job right now, study UI kit because most of the apps available on the App Store are made with UI kit. That's the main questions. But you have to study both. Don't be wrong about that because Swift UI will replace UI kit. It will take a time. I don't know how much, but it will replace it. Anyone else?
Awesome. We're getting towards the end of our presentation. One
Great.
last question should be asked if anybody has it. I think everyone is our experts at Swift now.
Yeah.
Sweet. So Marcelo, you mentioned on scheduling another meeting that
Yeah,
you would
maybe.
wish to talk about a certain topic. What
Mhm.
was the topic again?
About Swift itself, about the language and maybe an introductions about Swift,
Mm-hmm.
how to start coding. I have a YouTube channel. I have a couple videos about that there.
Mm-hmm.
It's iOS Jump Start. You can search for that. I have just two videos about that when I talk about Swift and how to start coding and Swift. It's a video about how to download Xcode and how things works.
Do you want to share the link with us here on the chat? And also,
Sure.
if you'd like to share your
You
LinkedIn
can
too.
yeah you can search for youtube.com at iOS Jumpstart. I don't know because
iOS
I'm on a
Jumpstart.
presentation screen. I can write. Oh, I can write here. I find it. Let me see. All I have to do is iOS Jump Start.
Found
Oops.
it.
iOS Jump Start. On Instagram, LinkedIn, and on YouTube too. On YouTube also.
YouTube too. All right, I just send the link for Marcelo's YouTube channel on the chat. Marcelo, would you wish to share your LinkedIn too so people can connect and eventually
Yeah,
reach
it's
out to you there?
linkedin.com/in/iOS Jump Start. I think that's it. Let's check. I think must be HTTPS, but it's working. I don't know. Let me
Should
find
be
something.
working.
It's working. It's working.
It's working. Okay.
Mhm.
Perfect. Alrighty. So we should be good to wrap up for now. And mm.
Just let me stop to sharing. I can't do that. Why? I can't stop sharing.
I can stop it. Okay, there we go.
Oh, it works. It takes it's all too much things open.
There's way too much going on.
Yeah,
All right, Marcelo, thank you so much for your time for this
I appreciate
presentation.
that.
And we're
Thanks
looking
for
forward
having
to
me.
the next one. And let's
Okay.
wrap up with a picture. The
Yeah.
count of 3. All right. 1, 2.
The balloons.
The
Yeah,
Mac user.
Let that balloons pass first.
I use Mac, but it don't happen with me.
Yeah, me either. You can see here, for example, I'm trying here and it's not popping anything.
If you
I
guys
don't
would
know
like
why.
to work the balloons, talk to Marcelo. He's an expert.
Yeah, I don't
He's an
have
expert.
idea why this happened.
Okay, guys.
That's awesome.
All right,
Yeah,
everyone.
and
See you guys. Have a
See
good
you.
one.
Bye bye.
Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much for
Marcelo.
see you.
sitting.